Hi everyone, and welcome to another apartment building video. So today I'm making an apartment for a family that I made a created video a couple of days ago because I did want to start trying to make creative videos to go with my house building videos. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that with all of them, we'll see how it goes, but I do like building with a specific family in mind, and I also am looking forward to being able to create different kinds of families. But a little bit about the family, just in case you didn't see the creative sim, is that you have Madison McFadden, who is in her early 20s, and she recently moved to the city and got her first apartment on her own and is just beginning her career as a cop. But a little after she got to this new part of her life, she received the unexpected news that her sister and brother-in-law had passed away in an accident, and as a result of this, she took up the responsibility of raising her two nieces, Robin and Rachel. And even though she loves her nieces, life has just been hard since this happened because all three of them are living together in this small apartment and they're all just dealing with this huge loss. And then on top of that, Robin is pretty rebellious and her and Madison are always butting heads, and then Rachel's also really clingy, so she gets very upset if she's left alone. So it's just a lot for Madison to deal with, and you know, she wants to stick with this and she wants to provide the best home possible for her nieces, but it's just very, very difficult. And there is more detail to it, of course, so if you're interested in learning about that, then you can go ahead and check out the creative sim. But onto the apartment. It is one of the ones in the Chic Street building in the Fashion District. And initially I was going for a really grungy look, like I had the gross looking counters that came from City Living and then the gross looking appliances. And I did end up changing that because I realized that the original color scheme I had with the brown walls in here and the black countertops look kind of close to the last apartment build I did, which was a grungy studio apartment, so I figured I should do something a little different than that so I didn't have the same color scheme. And I also decided to not go with the grungier looking City Living versions of these appliances and countertops because while I want this apartment to look like a cheap one that's not super nice, I didn't want it to feel too decrepit. Like, I wanted it to feel like it was actually kind of clean. Like, yes, it's dated and it has old things, it's not the nicest place, but it's at least clean. So I just try to make things very neutral and plain, like everything that you kind of expect to have come with the apartment, like the plumbing and the counters and the appliances and all of that, and the wallpaper and flooring is just all neutral colors, like white walls. The flooring is like just different shades of brown, you know, the kitchen is whites and shades of brown. And I just want to do that because that's kind of something you see in apartments. Like, usually in apartments everything is just in neutral colors, so it is more pleasing to as many people as possible. So I was just kind of trying to go for that cheap, basic apartment, you know, kind of realistic, cheap basement apartment look, because this does remind me of some apartments I looked at when I was trying to find a cheaper place to live in college, because I just saw a lot of apartments like this where things were very dated, and yes, it looked clean, but you know, you could tell things were a little old, and I really wouldn't have been surprised to have seen a mouse there, which fits this place perfectly because it does have multiple mouse holes in it, so you will definitely see mice in it. And without her that, she had got this very cheap, bland apartment and just tried to add her own touches to it to give it a little bit more color, make it feel a little bit more fun. So I do put in some items here and there to add a little bit of a pop of color, and I was also trying to go for more of a secondhand kind of a look, like she got the pieces of furniture from different places because, you know, she was a young adult just moving on her own, and when you're in that kind of situation, you don't always have money to just go out and buy like whole new sets of new furniture, so you end up just kind of buying secondhand stuff from wherever you can get it, which is like something I did myself when, you know, I first moved out onto my own. And this place does, of course, have a very crammed feel to it because, I mean, she's living here with a teenager and a toddler, so their stuff is just all over the place. So we got that high chair shoved in there. There's some toys sitting on the living room. She also has a cat, so her cat stuff is just shoved out into this area as well because, you know, I mean, it was just her in the apartment prior to the situation, so she had a lot more space. Like, there's that cat tree right there in front of the window, and I'd imagine that prior to her nieces moving in with her, that was in her office with her computer because, you know, there's enough space in there for that. But then when she, you know, crammed all of her stuff into the smaller bedroom, because the smaller one is actually her bedroom and then the bigger one is for her nieces. But you know, once that happened, everything just had to be crammed in different spaces to make it work. But I do really like furnishing in this kind of like crammed together way. Like, I just find it kind of like a fun challenge to fit in everything you need in a small space. Like, I don't know, that's just kind of a style I really enjoy. And unfortunately, I could not figure out anywhere else to put the litter box other than in her bedroom, which I really did not like doing. Like, I'm not a huge fan of putting litter boxes in bedrooms. Like, that's not something I personally want to have to do, but that's really the only space we fit in. So I had to work with that. I had to deal with it. And I was also trying not to block that pipe thing and that circuit breaker, because I have done that in the past in apartments. And then of course it's always a hassle when it breaks and you actually need to get that in there and fix it. So I was trying to be good with this one and not block that. So yeah, I think that should be good. Yeah, I tried fitting the litter box in the bathroom, but unfortunately there just wasn't really enough space for it in there. And I ended up remembering later on that I had to put the toddler potty in there. So yeah, there just wasn't any room in there for that. But I actually really like this layout for this apartment, because originally this is where the kitchen was. And then where the kitchen was a bedroom. But I think this works so much better because, yeah, you unfortunately end up with that pipe and circuit breaker in the bedroom, but that way you have a bedroom that actually has a window in it, because I think you're better off not having a window in a kitchen. Like, I'd rather have a window in the bedroom and not have one in the kitchen. But, I mean, I kind of imagine that this apartment was maybe one that was advertised as, like, one bedroom and a den, you know, like that second room was kind of just supposed to be like a den space, not like an actual bedroom. But unfortunately, given the circumstances, that had actually become her bedroom. But we are now on to her niece's bedroom, and, yeah, so everything's just crammed in here, of course, and they basically each get just kind of like this L-shaped portion of the room to themselves. So right now I'm working on Robin's part of the room, and as I said before, she's a little bit more rebellious, so I just kind of saw her being more drawn to darker colors and just, you know, wanting darker colors in her part of the room. But I imagine that Robin would be pretty annoyed with having to share a room with her little sister. And this family was actually a recreation of a family that I played for a little bit last year. And when I was playing with them, there were some issues caused by the two of them sharing a room, because Rachel would wake up in the middle of the night and start crying. And then that would, of course, wake Robin up. And then she couldn't get back to sleep until Rachel fell back asleep. So she kept going to school tired. So yeah, there's a lot of issues caused by that. And this household was just challenging to play in general because of their traits and the situation with them being crammed into this really small apartment. So I just remember playing them and, you know, Robin going off to school really tired, and then Madison going off to work really tired, and their performances suffering and all of that. But I mean, I think it is fun to play a family that is challenging like this and just kind of see where things go. And I also think that having the apartment furnished like this does make it more interesting to play, because when I did play with this household, I think part of why I lost interest with them and stopped playing with them after a bit was that I didn't really take the time to furnish their apartment. Like, I did have them in this one, but I just kind of spent like 10 minutes just slapping around furniture or slapping furniture down. Didn't really put a whole lot of time to it. And just for me at least, having a build that feels like it's detailed and, well furnished for the Sims in it just makes the game so much more immersive and enjoyable to play for me. And even if you don't want to use the Sims that I made, this apartment would still work really well for any other kind of single parent situation, which was why I called this a single parent apartment, because even though Madison isn't a single parent in the typical sense, she is still raising these two on her own. So, I mean, this could work well if you have a household with just one parent and a teen and a toddler, or even just a child and a toddler. Like, you could probably redecorate the teenage side of the bedroom a little bit and make it suit a child some more. So yeah, there's definitely other uses you could get out of this place, but we are getting pretty close to being done with this. So as usual, there will be a link to download this in the description. There'll be other stuff in there, how to find in-game. And if you want to download the household that I created for this apartment, then they will be up on the gallery as well. Although I did use some custom content in them, so I can't get a link for it, but you should be able to find them on my gallery page if you make sure to check the box that says to include custom content, because otherwise they're not going to show up. And I'll have an annotation linking to the Create Sim video in case you haven't seen it yet and you want to check it out. But that is going to be all for me, so I hope you enjoy the rest of the video.